set a blistering pace. We couldn't quite catch but then by the same token, others couldn't catch Twente.
Welcome to the very first innovation reveal of Solar Team Twente. My name is Jeroen Pauwels, and I am part of the team responsible for this innovation edition. During the past months, a team of 7 students has been working day and night to improve our most recent solar car even further. Today, I will take you on a journey through these months. And for this, to start off, I would like to invite our team manager, Laura Voogd, and our technical manager, Daan de Jong, to the stage.
Bij de generaal.
Thank you, Jeroen. It has indeed been a very interesting past couple of months for this first innovation edition. But before I will dive deeper into what we've been so busy with these past couple of months, I first want to highlight why we're standing here today. The vision of Solar Team Twente started in 2003 with the goal to inspire the industry of sustainable transportation by building a car that drives solely on the energy of the sun.
Yes, and since then, many great technologies have been created within Solar Team Twente, and some even went to market. But nowadays, our focus has shifted, and it's not merely about getting attention to the automotive industry. But now we wish to unite our partners and students to inspire future engineers about the magnificent uses of sustainable energy technologies.
Yes, and we've been achieving this by introducing a new team every other year that focused on building a newer solar car and participated in the World Solar Challenge. However, innovation is a continuous endeavor and should not stagnate from team to team. Hence, the question was raised, how do we keep things new, innovative, and also future-oriented? And that is when our team was introduced. Now, 2 old team members will tell you a bit more about this innovation edition and the goal of our team.
Ik ben Annelies Dekker, ik ben 29 jaar. Ik was in 2019 teamleider van het Solar Team en momenteel ben ik nog betrokken bij de begeleiding van het huidige managementteam.
Ik ben Luc, ik ben 29 jaar. Ik heb eigenlijk in 2017 Aerodynamica gedaan voor Solar Team Twente. En ik ben eigenlijk over de jaren heen betrokken gebleven bij het team om ze te ondersteunen op technisch vlak, op organisatorisch vlak en eigenlijk gewoon te ondersteunen waar mogelijk.
Het innovatieteam is natuurlijk anders dan vorige jaren. En wat er eigenlijk anders is er is niet een geschreven boekje met hoe we het doen dit jaar. Voor de race in Australië is er toch al een hele hoop ervaring beschikbaar. Hoe is de race gegaan? Hoe bouw je die auto?
Dus het doel van deze editie is niet zozeer om voor die nieuwe race dan weer een hele nieuwe auto te bouwen, maar eigenlijk de auto te nemen die we al hebben en daar dus juist bijzondere innovaties op uit te voeren om ons op die manier verder te helpen als team.
En omdat we nu meer op innovatie gefocust zijn, zijn de regels wat anders. Er is een nieuwe race, ze gaan naar Zuid-Afrika, dus ook daar horen andere regels bij. En er is wat meer vrijheid en ik vind dat zelf echt ontzettend leuk juist om dat daarmee te coachen.
We hebben het team op deze manier samengesteld omdat we heel erg de focus wilden hebben op zowel de nieuwe race als innovatie.
En we denken ook dat met een klein team kun je ook echt een hecht team vormen. En omdat het iets nieuws is, zie je dat ze ook echt samen die taak oppakken. en daarmee aan de gang gaan. En verder hebben we natuurlijk ook gekeken naar wat is nou de persoonlijke motivatie van die 7 teamleden die er nu zitten. En ze waren allemaal gebrand om met iets nieuws aan de slag te gaan. En ja, dat is wel de reden dat we hun met z'n 7 bij elkaar hebben gezet.
So, for the first time in the history of Solar Team Twente, an innovation edition kicked off. And whilst the previous team was still racing through the outback of Australia, a team of 7 students started their journey. And entering the office in September felt like entering a playground of possibilities. Unlike previous teams, we didn't really have a set roadmap, so therefore we could discover more uncharted areas and take a bit more risk. With the final goal to innovate as much as possible during our edition, but also for future teams to come.
Yeah, so when we started our edition, we invited our partners, all team members and others involved, to brainstorm about interesting innovations that could benefit our team, but also our car. But as any other team, also we had obstacles and hurdles we had to overcome.
Yes, well, luckily we are a very resilient team, and therefore we were able to shift our focus to where it needed to be. And luckily, at that time, also our car came back from Australia.
Yeah, and when our car finally came back from Australia, we did not have a clue what state it was in. Because it traveled through the entire country, through deserts, sand, and intense heat, we had to figure out what state the car was in. So that is why we organized multiple test days. And only after we tested the car intensely, we saw that the car was safe and reliable. So now it was time to push the car to the limits, like has never been done at Solar Team Twente before. It was the #1 goal of our technical team to improve an already great and efficient car. And that is not something easy to do. So many innovations were crafted close to completion. But I have to be honest, innovation is a risky business. And not everything that we looked into eventually made it into the car. But I am proud to say that together with our technical team, we can present to you our new innovations. And we will not only present our innovations, we will also test our innovations. We will test them under the hardest circumstances known within solar racing. We will test them at the South African Sasol Solar Challenge.
Well, today we will dive deeper into the innovations that we've implemented and adjusted in REDX. However, it is important to note that the overarching goal for this team was to keep an eye on the horizon and create a path forward for future teams. And therefore, some of the innovations born during this edition won't see the light during this edition, but in future iterations of our solar cars. Well, the challenges and also achievements that we've had to experience during our year is what this year makes it incredibly worth it. And I'm very proud of my team and the efforts we have put into making this an incredible year. And the tangible results of this collective effort is what's going to be presented to you today. The newest solar car of Solar Team Twente. Crafted, improved and adjusted to face an entire new challenge. We're thrilled to present to you the 11th solar car of Solar Team Twente, featuring a distinctive eye to indicate the first of many innovation editions to come. Let's take a look at Red XI.
car. After many months filled with designing, brainstorms, testing, and everything, you can name it, we have improved our solar car even further. Our technical team has pushed the limits of existing technology on every aspect. Not only did we increase our aerodynamic efficiency, but we also worked on our electrotechnical and mechanical systems. This makes RedXi even smoother, lighter, and faster than ever before. Today, we will bring a selection of these innovations to light. And for this, first of all, I want to invite our technical team to the stage. So give them a big round of applause. But before they start telling you everything about their innovations, I want to really start you off with a video presenting them. So enjoy.
Hey, I want to show you something. Welcome to Solar Team Twente's Innovation Center. Here, we engineer numerous improvements to win it on every mile. Drawing inspiration from nature, we put more skin in the game. Imagine a special film, similar to shark skin, allowing us to glide through the air. And another game changer, we're introducing vortex generators. These small elements unleash tiny whirlwinds, minimizing drag. Thanks to Sabine, the effect of casted shadows are reduced to a minimum, bringing every cell to its highest power. And through pioneering manufacturing techniques like topology optimization, our car is stronger and lighter than ever before. We are Team 24, embracing new technologies for generations to come.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Vera Lehmann, and you might have just seen me as the driver of RedXi. But apart from being the driver, I've also been very busy as the R&D engineer of this team. And one of the areas I focused on in the past year was trying to improve the aerodynamics of our solar car. Because when we drive the Southwell Solar Challenge, one of the biggest challenges we face is actually overcoming the energy loss due to air drag. And that is why it's very important to decrease our aerodynamic, or make our car as aerodynamic as possible. And one way to do that is by having very thin trailing edges. And if we zoom in on the canopy, you can see that this was taken into account last year in the production of RedX as well. And these thin trailing edges ensure that the flow is able to follow the shape of our car quite well. However, when we look at the back of our solar car, we can see that we have a problem. Where the edge of our solar panel is still a very thin trailing edge, we have this big object in the middle, our license plate. And unfortunately, due to the rules and regulations of the Southwell Solar Challenge, we have to have this license plate, and it needs to be this size, and it also needs to be mounted at the very end of our car. And you might be able to imagine that that is a problem, because instead of following the shape of our car, the flow just encounters a sudden edge, doesn't really know where to go, and disperses. And it kind of leaves behind a hole where no air is. And this hole becomes a low pressure region that is pulling our car backwards while we're driving forwards. So this is a problem that we needed to solve. And to try this, we tried multiple different concepts and eventually settled on the concept of vortex generators. And although these elements look quite small, their effect is really big, because what they do is they trip the layer of air, and they mix the air, which creates tiny whirlwinds or vortices. And these vortices, they fill up the empty spot behind our license plate. And because this spot is filled, there's no longer a low pressure region, the air is no longer being pulled backwards, and we experience way less aerodynamic drag. But unfortunately, pressure drag is not the only type of aerodynamic drag that we encounter. We also have to deal with something that we call surface drag. And this drag is basically the effect of air flowing over our surface. And in the past years, we've always been trying to reduce our surface drag as much as possible by creating a very smooth surface. And we took that really far. So we thought about the type of paints we used, the thickness of our stickers. We cleaned the car every day. But when we took a closer look at nature, we saw that being very smooth is not always the evolutionary choice. If we take, for instance, a look at a shark, which is shaped very hydrodynamically, and is thus evolved to move through water quite quickly, we can see that its skin is not smooth, but instead consists of all types of rivulets and grooves. So researchers from around the world, they saw this, and they were quite stunned by it. And they decided to look into it further. Because if these grooves can make a shark more hydrodynamic, could it also work to make boats more hydrodynamic? Or could it even work to make airplanes more aerodynamic? And when they applied these type of rivulets to their cars or boats or airplanes, they found that they reduced the fuel by quite a percentage. And that made us wonder, hey, if this works on airplanes, could it also work on a solar car? And the answer is yes. And that is why this year, for the first time, Solar Team Twente will not be racing with a smooth skin, but instead will be racing with a shark skin-inspired film. But I can imagine some of you are wondering, hey, how does adding these grooves or rivulets, how does it actually decrease air drag? And that has to do with two phenomena. And the first of it being that these rivulets actually create tiny pathways for the air to flow through. So instead of just flowing everywhere over the surface, the air follows the pathways, and there's less airflow coming from the sides, and thus less chaos and less vortices. And because there's less vortices, there's less energy exchange and eventually less drag experienced. But there's a second reason why these rivulets are so effective, and this has to do with their shape. Because there are still vortices that are created, but these rivulets are shaped like a V. And because they're shaped like a V, they push the rivulets upwards. And now, instead of interacting with the entirety of the surface, these vortices, or these tiny whirlwinds of energy, they only interact with the tip of the rivulet. And this effectively reduces our area of interaction and reduces the overall surface drag that we experience on our car. So this year we already got an aerodynamically great car, but by making some adjustments, we've managed to make it even more smoother. And we will experience even less pressure drag and less surface drag when we cruise through South Africa. But unfortunately, air drag is not the only thing that we experience when racing. We also have to deal with other factors. And our technical manager, Daan de Jong, is going to talk a little bit more detail about what happens with rate reduction.
Thank you, Vera. And you might all be wondering, well, we had an amazing car, it's quite efficient. We improved it even more on aerodynamics. How? We started at the basics. So let me explain it to you. When we make our car or components within our car lighter, our car will use less energy from our battery to travel through South Africa. Also, when we make our components stronger, our car will become more reliable, and we will spend less time on service and maintenance, which will give us the edge during the race. And normally we had to strike a balance between these 2 points, the strength of a component and the weight of a component. And now, by combining topology optimization and 3D printing titanium, we found the optimal balance. And to put this combination to the test, we had to find a component that was really critical for our car to prove that this works. So behind me is our suspension. And within the suspension, right in the middle, there is our steering knuckle. I will grab it in front of me right now, like magic. This steering knuckle is what connects our wheels to the car, and it actually bears the highest loads within our suspension. Also, I can tell you that this car is quite heavy and bulky for a solar car. So it's heavily due for a redesign. But how did we start this? Well, let's start at topology optimization. Many of you might not know what topology optimization is, but I will explain it to you quickly. Topology optimization is a mathematical algorithm that tries to optimally distribute material within a given volume. What happens is we load a part into our software and we do a strength calculation. And when the strength calculation is done, the program gives us areas where the product is loaded and where the product is not stressed or loaded at all. And then it grabs away a tiny bit of material at that iteration. Then the simulation gets run again, and it shows us again where the highest stresses are, where there is no stress or lower stress, and then it removes a bit of material again. And in the end, by doing multiple iterations, we end up with a really organic structure like this, where material is left only at the places where strictly needed. And we use 3D printing techniques because this part cannot be manufactured with milling or turning operations. And it's titanium printing because it's one of the most efficient materials in this for the printer. Now, with this combination of 3D printing and topology optimization, we found a perfect balance. Now, we can even improve on all of our metal components within our car. And just to show you, the redesign of only this steering knuckle already saved us 30% on weight. So just imagine what in future years we could save within our solar car. So that's it for some more losses. But we will talk about more positive things as well, the energy gains. And energy is gained during our race from our solar panel. And Roosmarijn Meijers, our electrical engineer, has been working day and night to improve on the efficiency of our solar panel, and she will tell us a lot more. So I want to call in front Roosmarijn Meijers.
Yes, thank you, Dan. As you already said, I'm the electrical engineer of our innovation team, and for the past year I've been focusing on our solar system. Because, as you all know, we need sun on our solar panel to drive. Unfortunately, the driver's cabin, the canopy, casts a shadow upon our panel. And when this shadow hits our cells, it does not only affect those it lands on, but also those it's connected to. Because when working with solar cells, the weakest link in the chain, so to say, determines the output power. So if one cell is operating on the lower level due to shadow, every cell it's linked to will also operate on that lower level. In the past few years, we have solved this problem by bypassing the cells in shadow, taking the weak links out of the chain, allowing the rest of the cells to operate on a higher level, but also throwing away energy of cells that are only partially in shadow. So I've been focusing on a solar array balancing interface named Sabine that can redirect energy and changes the way the solar cells are connected to one another. The working of Sabine is very simple to explain. As you can see behind me, there's a top view of red Xi, and the green cells are those that are fully in the sun, so they are operating on their highest level. But the gray cells are taken out of the chain, and they are gray because they do not deliver to our system. But with Sabine, the cells that are only partially in shadow and can still contribute can operate on a different level. This results in a higher energy output and gives us more energy to drive on. Now, the solar team enthusiasts between you might recognize the name Sabine, as the first concept was realized back in 2015 and won the Innovation Award of the World Solar Challenge the same year. Throughout the years, little tweaks to this concept were made, but with having to produce a new solar panel every 2 years, time was always short and Sabine landed on the shelf. Fortunately, it was not only our time that was short, because there are not many known competitors that use this kind of technology. So, with still one step ahead, we started working on Sabine again this year, And to do this, we wanted to dissect every part and determine what was needed. So we did some brainstorms with all team members and started with the basic question. What does Sabina need to do? How can this be done? And what implementation suits our application best? From this, we took a blueprint that makes it able to adapt Sabina to solar panels we will produce in the future, but also adapt it to RedXI. So we started drawing up schematics using this blueprint and reviewing and adapting these. But the most complex part was the efficiency, because Sabina was using energy from cells that, if you look at the whole panel, and it was still using energy. So in the end, we still want to end up with more, but the electrical energy wasn't the only conflicting part, because Daan was spending most of his year trying to reduce the weight of the car, and I was using mine to make a new system that would add weight to this car. So we wanted a very light and efficient working project. So after many discussions and calculations and even resoldering our solar panel, we ended up with a Sabina that makes our solar panel even more powerful. Now, as we talked about the innovations we did this year, there are also some innovations that we made a first concept of, but are still in the way of developing and can be used for solar teams to come. And our innovations will be tested to their limits in South Africa, where RedXI can glide past the windy coast, easily reach the top of mountains, and take the most out of the African sun as possible. Our technical team is ready to go.
Yes, the innovations you just heard about will help us to get everything out of the car during the race we will be driving in September. Over the past months, we did not only innovate this car, but we also prepared our race team for a completely new solar challenge. As we have already said, we will be going to South Africa for the Sasol Solar Challenge, a race we have never raced before. And of course, this comes with new challenges to overcome. So I would like to invite two people to the stage who can tell you everything about all of these challenges. Our team manager, but also our race leader, Laura Voogd, and our strategist, Daan Nibbering.
Thank you, Jeroen. There is indeed no better way to put our new innovations to the test than by participating in the toughest endurance race among solar car races, the South African Sasol Solar Challenge. And during this race, we will be traveling from Johannesburg to Cape Town within 8 days.
Yeah, and not only is this race 3 days longer than we are used to, the race also poses a new challenge strategically. Because contrary to the race in Australia, the winning team is the team that has driven the most kilometers, instead of the team that finishes first. And every day we will drive from a starting point to an end point, and halfway the day we can find loops that we can drive to crank up our total number of driven kilometers. And without any additional loops, the track has a distance of 2,300 kilometers, and our goal will be, by driving these loops, to add as many as we can.
Yes, so besides this different race concept, the Sasol Solar Challenge is renowned for being uniquely challenging due to a variety of factors. Well, firstly, of course, the climate is very different in South Africa compared to Australia and the Netherlands. But moreover, during our race, we will actually surpass 5 different ecosystems, ranging from the dry and dusty savanna to the windy west coast.
Yeah, and all these unique attributes have a huge impact on the in- and outgoing energy of our solar car and how we can actually win the race. So that is why, since the beginning of September, we have been crafting and perfecting an entirely new racing strategy.
Yes, so to really take you along with what is waiting for us in South Africa, let's zoom in on one day. And more specifically, let's make it a bit more dark in here. Because our first alarms will go off at 5:30 a.m. And luckily, Dan and I are hopefully still asleep by then, but our service crew is wide awake to make sure that our battery is well connected within the solar car, so that when before the sun rises, we won't miss a single beam of light.
Yeah, and as you can hear, besides all electrical preparations, our mechanical team is also preparing the car by screwing on the wheels and checking all mechanical components. And meanwhile, the sun is slowly rising, and by that time, Red XI will be charging in the sun, and the rest of the team will be waking up. And every morning, there is a lot of activity, and in a short amount of time, all tents and equipment have to be packed, and everyone is preparing for another race day.
Yeah, so after tidying up our camp, it is essential that all the solar cars gather at the start line holding area. And here they will be placed in order based on the previous day's results. So, at 8 o'clock sharp, the first solar car will depart. And now we're racing. And Dan and I are stationed in the decision-making unit. And together with the front escort, we are responsible for guiding the solar car from start to finish during the race. And within the decision-making unit, all the strategic and tactical decisions are made in order to stay ahead of our competitors during the race.
Yeah, and apart from the racing convoy, there are a lot more cars playing an important role. So driving way ahead is the weather vehicle that in advance takes weather measurements on the route. And driving closer before the racing convoy is the scout, which reports any roadworks or tells to the DMU where obstacles on the road occur. And driving closely behind the racing convoy, you have the service bus, where the service crew is stationed. And in the case that there is something wrong with the car, they are very close and they can fix any problem as soon as possible. And of course, to capture the entire race, we have the media crew traveling with us as well.
Yes, so during the first segment of the route, we actually drive up towards the loop. But how many rounds of loops we conduct is entirely up to us. So as a race lead, I would suggest to go maximum speed and do as many loops as possible.
Laura, you would not be the first race leader that suggests driving faster, but from a strategic perspective, that might not win us the race. Because the car solely drives on the energy of the sun, we are very dependent on the weather, and that varies a lot during the race. So we have a limited amount of energy in our battery, but we should look ahead on the hours and days, such that we can, as optimally as possible, divide the energy over the race.
Okay. So maybe going maximum speed everywhere is not the best idea. But how many rounds of loops do you suggest then?
Well, based on today's route and the nice weather, I say we can do 6. So after completing all the loops, it is time to continue with the remaining part of the route and drive towards the finish. And every day we also have to make sure that we finish on time at 5 p.m. Because otherwise we get a time penalty. So, Lara, in order to finish on time, could you please communicate to our driver that we should drive at 89 kilometers an hour?
Okay. Well, DMU to driver, set point 89, over.
Driver to DMU, set point 89 accepted, out.
Okay, well, now we're well on track to finish right on time at 5 p.m. And we're finished. However, after an intense race day, we're not finished yet. The service crew has to make sure that the solar car gets race ready for another intense race day. And moreover, within the camp, meetings take place and people rest and prepare for another intense race day. So, this is only one race day. But if you zoom out a bit, you can see that we have to do this for a total number of 8 days. So you can imagine we want to be as well prepared as possible. However, if you look closely on the route, you can see that for one specific day, the route data is missing. Could you maybe explain why?
Yeah, well, it's nice that you mentioned it, Laura. As a strategist, I would really like to, in advance know every detail of the route, so I can plan and optimize every second of it. But one of the unique elements of the SASO Solar Challenge is that there is a blind stage. So unfortunately, only the night before the blind stage, the organization will share the route. And up to that point, we are guessing where we will drive. But I can assure you that it already cost me countless sleepless nights.
Yeah, well, I can imagine this is a very challenging but also fun race for you as a race strategist. But besides being fully prepared on a strategic level, we also have to make sure that our race team is well prepared. And a fun fact, our team of 7 people will actually grow into a team of 37 people in South Africa. And in order to be as well prepared as possible, we conduct race simulations here in the Netherlands.
Yeah, and during those racing simulations, we try to mimic what is happening during a normal race day, while all kinds of interesting things occur. And the goal is to, as a team, overcome every hiccup as efficiently and effectively as possible. And this year, for the first time, we have 2 students from the ROC traveling with us to South Africa. And they're making a documentary about our race. And they were also present during the race simulation, of which they made a video explaining what we tried to do there.
Mijn naam is Daan de Jong, 23 jaar oud. En omdat wij 2 Daan in het team hebben, ben ik ook wel DJ. En ik ben dit jaar de technisch manager en logistiek manager van Solar Team Twente.
Ik ben Vera Leeman, ik ben 23 jaar en in dit team van Solar Team Twente ben ik de R&D engineer. Ons doel voor de simulatie was om ons zo goed mogelijk voor te bereiden op de race. Dus we hebben nu onze eerste race simulatie gehad en we hebben straks in de zomerperiode hebben we nog een tweede. En uiteindelijk willen we zorgen dat al onze protocollen helemaal vlekkeloos werken.
Dus het is vooral eigenlijk een training ook voor jezelf om daar sterker uit te komen.
Het was voor ons de eerste keer. Het was ook de eerste keer in zo'n groot raceteam. Dus niet iedereen kende elkaar even goed. Dus we hebben wat evaluaties gedaan.
En als ik zou zeggen dat alles in één keer goed ging, dan ben ik aan het liegen. Dus we liepen echt nog wel tegen wat dingen aan. Het was vooral dat we eigenlijk doorborduurden op de protocollen die de jaren voor ons hadden gemaakt. Maar dat voor onze editie niet per se werkt. Dus ook eigenlijk vooral die communicatieafstemming tussen de escort die ervoor rijdt en de DMU, Decision Making Unit, die erachter rijdt, was nog wel soms een mishap. Maar dat spreek je dan uit, je zoekt naar een oplossing en eigenlijk pak je dat vanaf daar weer verder.
Dus dan is zo'n race simulatie heel handig, want dan kom je achter dat soort dingen. En hebben we nu nog tijd om die protocollen aan te passen en opnieuw te gaan trainen met de hopelijk wel betere protocollen. Uiteindelijk worden we één groot raceteam. Heeft iedereen daarin ook een racetaak?
Komen er zoveel verschillende subteams eigenlijk echt tot leven. Dus die hele mindset en het enthousiasme van het team was daar wel echt af te leven.
Ik denk dat in een team zoals deze dat het belangrijk is dat iedereen zelf heel erg gemotiveerd is. En dat iedereen uit zichzelf ook het beste wil halen en daarmee ook uit het team het beste wil halen.
We zijn allemaal hier naartoe gekomen met het idee van wij willen onszelf verbeteren als persoon, onszelf uitdagen. En we hebben allemaal die drive om voor het maximale te gaan en 1 jaar echt volledig te knallen. Dus ja, daar gaan we voor en ik denk dat we daar ook heel ver mee gaan komen. Wat mijn voorspelling is voor Zuid-Afrika is denk ik dat we vooral trots kunnen zijn op wat we met deze editie hebben bereikt.
Ik hoop in ieder geval en ik ga ervan uit dat het een unieke ervaring wordt. Met een supermooie auto, een supergoed voorbereid raceteam.
Dus ik denk dat er echt wel heel veel potentie in zit. En met het team wat we nu hebben,
durf ik misschien wel te zeggen, hopelijk de winst.
Ga voor die winst.
Well, as you can see, we're trying everything in our power to come as well prepared for South Africa as possible. However, let's not forget what an incredible year it has already been. And I'm very proud of my team and the efforts that we've put into making this an incredible year. By working so closely and intensely together, we've become very good friends that enjoy doing workout sessions together, parties sometimes because, well, we're still students nevertheless, little trips abroad and do team building sessions together. And our biggest team building session has yet to come, the race. But what a year has it already been. Thank you. What a
Well, thank you for this very fun and clear explanation, Laura and Dan. I still can't wrap my head around how exciting this race sounds. As a team, we look forward to putting Red XI to the ultimate test in South Africa. And the coming months, we will keep working very hard to get everything out of this car and the team. And if you want to follow us during this race, this year we have our very own Solar Team Twente app developed by Baseflow. And you can simply use it to live track us, but you can also use it to look into deeper statistics and features of the car. So make sure to check that out when it comes live nearing the race. But for now, I want to express our gratitude to our partners. Every single one of you has contributed to what we see in front of us right now. We would simply not be able to do what we do without your help. So let's give a big round of applause to all of our partners. And then, on the stage next to me, you see someone standing you have not seen yet on stage tonight. This is the woman who has made everything possible tonight. She has been running around backstage to make everything run as smoothly as possible as well. Give a big applause for our event manager, Esme Hulsman.
Thank you all. In addition, I want to thank Stage X for building this beautiful stage and everything around it, and Kit Engineering for delivering the screens we have in this hall today. Also, this event would not have been possible without Stork and Trebbe providing the location, facilities, and more. But let's not forget a group of the old former team members who have enabled us to invest so much effort into this project. Those old team members laid the foundation for our team to build on this project. So please give them and our friends and family a big applause.
And then, for the rest of the night, we have set out different experiences for you to try. Of course, next to the bar, we have set out different experiences to try. We have the VR game made by Invocate standing over there. You can see it by the gaming chair and the gaming stair. And you can try out what it is like to be one of our drivers or our race leader. You can try out both functions. Invocate and some old team members will be standing there to give you an explanation, answer your questions. So make sure to give it a try. Then next to it, you see our mock-up. And our mock-up is basically a very heavy, uncomfortable, non-aerodynamic vehicle in which we test our mechanical components. You can just try it out by sitting in it, getting out of it, and if you want to make it into a challenge, you can try to do it as fast as possible and try to be faster than we are. So make sure to give it a try as well. And most of you have already seen it, most likely, but there are some solar cars from previous years exposed at the back of this hall. The car from 2015, 17, and 19 is there, and you can really see what it is like, how the solar cars evolved throughout the years. And all team members will be standing there to answer your questions about it, so you can learn even more about it. Lastly, we also have our racing convoy set out at the left side, your right side. And at the front of that, you see our escort vehicle, with behind it the solar car, in this case from 2021, Red Horizon, with a poster next to it, which explains it a little bit further. And behind it, our masterpiece, our decision-making unit, the car in which Dan and Laura, you just saw, will be sitting. And we have mimicked it as closely as possible as we could to be as it would be in South Africa. So make sure to give it a look. And for now, I just want to wrap up this presentation and wish you all a great night. Thank you.